Hello everyone, it's me Clayton. I just finished watching America the Motion Picture, starring Channing Tatum, Olivia Munn, Judy Greer, Andy Samberg, Simon Pegg, Killer Mike, and a ton of other people in what's essentially a huge satire of the American Revolution. This is definitely one of those films that's made for people who want history if the person who was telling it was drunk, high, and probably got F on all of his tests in history at school. It makes for a film that's definitely not something that you should use for study material for any of your classes, but definitely a fun way to celebrate American history while showing that America was kind of had huge problems back in the 1700s as it does now, while also sprinkling it with as many pop culture references and Marvel Cinematic Universe style action scenes that you can fit into a 90-minute animated film. Let's get to the story, shall we? The story is that George Washington is best friends with Abe Lincoln in this alternate universe, until he's killed by Benedict Arnold, who's sided with the British and has decided to try and destroy the nation as we know it. So, George Washington has to assemble a group of people, you could call them America's Avengers in that sense, to rally together to save the American people and to defeat the British, who they call the Fun Police. These Avengers that George has brought with him include Sam Adams, played by the guy who played Rexplode in Invincible, a female version of Thomas Edison, as if this is a version of the Fate universe, because I can see the Fate universe making a female Thomas Edison, a version of Paul Revere that apparently lived with horses, Geronimo, and Blacksmith, who is essentially this universe's version of John Henry. So yeah, this is one of those films that basically feels like it was made to be a version of Drunk History if it was done by the people of By Funny or Die, just with a ton of A-list celebrities so that you'd actually watch the film. And as far as that ridiculous premise goes, it's actually pretty funny, as long as you don't take it too seriously. Even if some of the jokes can be a little bit of a hit or a miss. When it comes to the films jokes that go totally off the wall when it comes to the creativity and animation, that's when the film's generally hilarious. But when it comes to the more dated pop culture references, especially earlier on in the film, that's when the movie starts to lose me. Though I will say some references to Star Wars, RoboCop, and other franchises did get a chuckle out of me, even if almost all the ones that work are still anachronistic, as expected from this kind of cast and this kind of premise. Plus, the final battle is where it basically goes Avengers style to the highest degree, especially when it comes to Thomas Edison flying around the battlefield like Iron Man and Paul Revere fighting a giant clock tower. Paul Bunyan fighting a giant clock tower. And it has Paul Revere as freaking RoboCop, or Robo-Horse as I like to call him. It's definitely one of those climaxes where you can tell they're just throwing everything in the kitchen sink at the audience and hoping something works. And thankfully, most of it is pretty amazing, especially since the animation is pretty good for this film. Not going to win any awards, but it's stylish, it fits the adult action of the series well, and it's pretty bloody and gory, especially during the scenes where it has to be. I know a lot of people are just starved for adult animated shows or animated films, and while this one doesn't reach the same level of, say, Team America World Police or South Park Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, I do think it's a good watch for a 4th of July viewing if you have some friends who are, trying to have a couple of beers and enjoy a film. So that's why I'm going to give America the Motion Picture a 6.5 out of 10. See you next time.